Miss McCullough, and your first outdoor science lesson. I am sitting in my front yard. You can hear my neighbor mowing grass. The wind is blowing. But overall, I'm here to walk you through the Quadrat activity. And yes, cars are going to be rolling by. Hey, neighbor. I'm sure they're wondering what the heck I'm doing. But this is going to be awesome. So this is that first activity under your modules, Unit 20, Organisms and Their Environment. This is one of those activities that you have to have a few materials. Now, do not, and I repeat, do not get your mama and them to get out and go anywhere to get stuff. This is only if you have stuff available. And I'm talking about, look, I picked up sticks in my front yard. I'm going to rig up one with string and forks, like to-go forks. I'm going to stick into the ground. And then I've got a pipe cleaner option as well. So all I'm doing is making a square that's going to be called something. The word is quadrat. It's like quadrant, but without the N at the end of it. So quadrat. It makes a square on the ground, and we're going to count the living organisms that are in that square. So first, let me show you how to set up that square. This is real life. Get the wind-blown look today. Now, you just saw the images for 3 different versions of a quadrat that you can do with like at-home materials if you have them. So I'm going to show y'all my finished product. So really the only materials that you need is something to make a square. I've seen the ones online with PVC pipe, but hey, I don't have PVC pipe at our house, so I did it with sticks, pipe cleaners, and then to-go forks and string. And really you just need something to measure a foot with. Most of us have tape measures at our homes, especially if you have parents that like to tinker with things, or some of you may have a ruler at home. That is one item that unfortunately is at my classroom, and I'm not going up there right now with our social quarantining rules. So I took my tape measure and tried to get my square as close to 1 foot as possible on each side. So I'm going to flip the camera and show y'all the one I made out of sticks, pipe cleaners, and then the one with to-go forks and string. Okay, so here's the one with sticks. As you can see, literally just 4 sticks. I picked them up in my yard. I tried to find ones that were as straight as possible, and I measured as best I could out to be 1 foot on each side of this, and then just laid it down. Over here, the pipe cleaner that we had in just a closet with some crafts, and then I took the tinier little edges and then just wrapped the corners. At each corner, they are connected. And then the final one over here, this would be the to-go forks with the string. So it is anchored here in this corner, and then I just looped, and I had to kind of finagle with it. This one was probably, took the longest and took about 45 seconds as opposed to, just a few seconds with these. So there's 3 options: sticks, pipe cleaners, and then string and forks. All right, hey y'all, welcome back. I've got my quadrat set up. I'm doing the one in my front yard with sticks. So I'm going to flip the camera and show y'all this is my setup. Okay, and I've got my notebook with my table for my first quadrant all created. And if you read through your instructions, it's going to tell you to create a table to ultimately list the living species and then their population size. Okay, so I listed 9 that I could easily find in my quadrat. I want you to try to list at least, try to get to 10. Again, I only got to 9. And then here are my species from the square right here. So all of these things, I had to Google common yard weeds, and I could match the different, like this is something called Creeping Charlie. Who knew? You've got wild clover. There was a little creature I saw that I learned was an aphid. I've seen some ants in here. This little yellow guy right here is something called yellowwood sorrel. And then I've even got some sort of species of wild onion growing in my yard. So who knew? So this is how you set it up. So I just wanted you to see a setup of your first quadrat with your living species in a column as well as your population size. You are going to be doing this in 3 different locations. Okay, so here is the bar chart I just whipped up according to the data that is above for my living species and the population size. So you can see the way I set up my bar chart. I had to do it on the notebook that I have. It has no lines on it. I did the best that I could without a ruler. I used my tape measure for making the big rectangle, but look, my population size goes along the y-axis. I did the best that I could without any type of bar chart paper with lines and little squares. I numbered from 0 up to 70 because my largest population size was the white clover at 62. So you can see that our yard, it has a ton of clover in it, not a whole lot of grass. We've got a lot of weeds. We should probably call the lawn doctor. But ultimately, this was the very first quadrant. This took me about a solid 30 minutes to do, and you need to do it for 2 other locations outside. So I just did my front yard. I would probably from here go to my side yard and then to my backyard. So that is it. That is all you're doing. You're listing your living species here in your table, counting them from your square. I've actually accidentally broken my sticks. My big foot broke one right here, but this was my square and where I counted all of my living organisms and then organized them into a bar chart, okay? Okay, so after you've done your 3 quadrat locations, done the table, and done a bar chart for those living organisms and their population sizes, you need to go back and do the analysis and evaluation questions. So just to walk you through those, analysis question number 3, describe the data that you have collected from the investigation. Just describe it. Did you notice that you had more grass in your front yard than your backyard? What might be some reasons for that? That leads into question number 4. Discuss how the population size varies from one area to another. With that, think about where you're taking your samples from. Are you taking it close to a walkway? Are you taking it in a very shaded area? This is where some of the biotic and abiotic factors come into play. Biotic factors are things that are living. So think about if you're in an area where you have a ton of squirrels that are coming in and eating the different organisms that could be living in that area. Or maybe you are in an area with abiotic factors that come into play. Think about the shade that's provided by trees. Think about, is it an area that's ultimately faces a lot of erosion because people are walking on it very often. So abiotic factors are those things that are non-living factors, the wind, any type of erosion, anything that's affected from things that aren't living. And then biotic factors are factors from other living organisms or other living things affecting that area. Then we move on to suggest why some areas had larger populations of the same species than others. So that kind of ties into, again, the same types of factors that you need to just think commonsensically. Where were you taking these samples from? And just give your suggestions. And then finally, our evaluation section. Explain why more than one Quadrat sample was taken. So why would it be why would it be valuable to take more than one just sample? Because I've got one sample here in my front yard, but I guarantee when I go to my backyard, it's going to be different. And then evaluation question 7, suggest why you did not count every single organism for the area covered in the investigation. So think about wherever you are. I'm sitting in my front yard. I know our house sits on a 1-acre lot, so imagine how long it would take me to count all the weeds, because that's what the majority of our front yard is. How long would it take me to count all of these, okay? So think on it in those terms. And then your final question, explain why the Quadrat was placed in random locations during the investigation. So why do you think we just kind of pick random places to do this, and what does your data look like? So explain your data. I hope this was a fun activity for you. I've had fun as all my neighbors get to ride by and wonder what I'm doing sitting in my front yard with all of this stuff out in front of me. I love each of you. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep learning, and I've enjoyed the sunshine. I hope you do too. Bye, guys.